like 1982 song. Good afternoon. This is the Moscow City Council Public Works and Finance Committee meeting. It is July 8th, and we can sure tell by the temperature, can't we? Sitting up here with me today are Sandra Kelly, Bryce Blankenship, our City Supervisor Bill Belknap, and the fabulous Sarah Banks, who is our Finance Director. Okay, I'm going to jump into our agenda. It is quite a lengthy one. First item is the approval of the Public Works Finance Committee June 10th minutes. Did you guys get a chance to look at those?
Love them. I think we should approve them.
Wow.
Okay, nice second.
Okay, that we love them. They are approved, sir. Okay, disbursement report for June of 2024. Sarah Decker.
Yes. All right. So looking at the accounts payable report for month ending June 30, 2024, our total expenditures were $3,366,638.76. Our largest expenditure was payroll, $1,349,809. And we had a few expenditures. Our final payment for the airport terminal was $1 million.
Did we celebrate that somehow? That's awesome.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we wrote the checks.
We had a payment for city shop facilities design services for $51,297.50, and then our quarterly user fees for Whitcom, which were $194 to $18.50. And that's all the updates I have, unless you have any questions.
I'm excited to see the shop stuff come through.
Excellent. Okay, do we have any questions? Bryce, you're pulling up the,
No, I noticed the airport payment and just excited to see that go through, even though I know it probably hurt a little
no
bit.
crime,
Yeah,
everybody else was happy.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think? Approve?
I think we should approve.
Okay. Sarah, I think I introduced you as Sarah Banks in the beginning,
Oh, that's okay.
so I apologize for that. You're Sarah Decker.
Well, thank you. It's okay.
So,
I go.
You can be
it's fine.
either one.
Yeah.
Two hats. Okay, our third item is the third quarter financial report, April 1 to June 30, 2024.
Yes.
Ms. Decker again.
So if you look through the financials, actually not a whole lot has changed within this quarter. You'll notice everything should be trending somewhere around 50 to 75% this year because we have an adopted budget that is larger than our budget we are working off of. All numbers will be lower. The only anomalies are pretty much the same ones from last quarter, which within fleet capital outlay, you'll notice that that's at 218%, and that's because we purchased the last half of the fire engine.
Oh,
That wasn't budgeted. We did purchase that. That'll come in an open budget. And then our transfers for fleet and information systems are very skewed, and that's because after the budget was adopted, we decided to start making transfers from
Oh,
fleet to IS into the general fund, and that's another thing that will be fixed in open budget.
Okay.
Other than that, everything else is trending. As always, capital is going to be low because this is capital season. That will pick up for fourth quarter, but they always will run a little low because our fund balances, which are always within the budgeted amount, are numbers that don't get spent. So other than that, any questions?
No, none for me.
Okay. Sarah, this may be the first time we don't have questions for you on this item.
Yeah.
So thank you. You did make a statement though, Hop. See, I was faking you out there. You said budget was larger than the working budget.
Yes.
Can you explain that to me?
So when we adopted the budget, some things came about after adoption, and we realized that we needed to modify our revenues, and that it had to do with the reduction in majority of revenues actually within the
Yes.
general fund and in street fund.
So if you recall the Bradbury case down in Lewiston, that decision came out shortly after the council, well, just prior to adoption of the budget, but prior to us making modifications to the
Right.
budget. As a result of the Bradbury case, as well as review of our internal general fund cost allocation model, we knew we were going to make some modifications. And that was going to result in some reduced revenues, and we needed to reduce expenditures as well. So we had the 6 positions we withheld, we did the 10% holdback. So the budget that was adopted is larger than what we're operating under. So we have internally modified an amended budget that we're using.
Yes.
And that will be coming forward to the council here in August to officially amend the FY24 budget to make those adjustments. So it's just not going to match the final adopted right now
That's
until
fine.
we amend.
Thank you for that. I I knew that answer. I wanted it on
Mhm.
video.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
it's to under expend and to under
Yeah.
receive revenue. So it's not to increase appropriations.
Correct. Okay, so you're good with approving them? Okay, we're all good. All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank
See you
you,
tomorrow.
Sarah.
Yes, you will.
Okay, the next item is Moscow City Code towing of motor vehicle ordinance. Chief Dollinger, man, this is a big one. Mia, do you want to come up too, or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, take it away, chief.
All right. So the purpose behind the proposed ordinance was we realized that here in Moscow, we utilize tow companies for law enforcement purposes, and we didn't have a function as to make sure that they are meeting certain standards, that kind of thing, for the protection of the public,
Right.
making sure the drivers are licensed and insured and whatnot, beyond the normal business licensing. Then this is, a lot of it's based off of the Idaho State Police have a similar authority to create a authorized tow list. So this would just be a list
Yeah,
of tow companies that would just meet our criteria and that we could utilize for our purposes. This is actually, like, I believe it's the third iteration that we've been working on, because this has to be approved by the federal government, the FBI. Part of the background check would be a criminal history check through their system. So they've got certain levels of things that they need. So they sent this back for some revisions. Mia worked hard on that to get those revised. So what this would do, if passed, this would allow us temporarily to do more or less local checks until the FBI gives us their authority to do a full federal criminal history check as well. And that's kind of the real quick rundown.
Yeah.
If anybody has any questions.
I have a question on that.
please.
So, what happens if your check comes out okay, something is wonky, they've towed a car, and there's some issues with it? Is that going to come back to haunt us?
Well, it depends on what the wonkiness is.
Sure.
So this would just make sure that we would be able to, we would make sure that the owners, the drivers, everybody is currently licensed. They're not having any history that would keep them from having this. Certainly, if something comes up and they are now in violation of this ordinance, then they would be, I would assume, revocated from that ability to tow for us.
Yeah. Do you all have like just a rough estimate on how many cars each month maybe get towed, or maybe are kind of in violation in the past that you get calls on? Just
Oh my gosh, not off the top of my head. It's quite a few.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah,
Really?
especially when you're talking about the amount of abandoned vehicles that we deal with, tows from exceptional circumstances is what the code says. So off of arrests, those types
Gotcha.
of things, it can be pretty frequent.
Gotcha.
And just one last question. I'm assuming you probably already have this, but you just have a rotation that goes through for tow trucks that you call.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Obviously, we can't show preference.
Right.
So we just
Right.
have our dispatchers reach out to the next available
Great.
company.
How many, you don't have to know this, I didn't let you know ahead of time that I was going to hit you with like math. But how many, do we have a lot of tow companies in our area?
I wouldn't say a lot.
10?
Probably around that number.
Really? Will this remove a good number of them, or will this allow the 10 to continue?
Oh, they'll absolutely be able to continue. The only thing this ordinance would do would be for tows that request to be on our call rotation, they would now have to meet this threshold. All other tow companies continue to do business.
Right.
But with the city. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Would it
Gotcha.
remove a number of them from our list potentially, or is it's not a huge barrier to entry for them? That's my question.
Gotcha. Well, I'm not quite sure. I mean, we'd have to see how many would meet that threshold.
Yeah.
I would assume if they'd all probably want to be on our list. There's been several that have
Definitely.
requested it. It's quite a bit of business for them. So
Yeah.
if they were lacking, I'm sure that they would probably meet those standards or
Okay.
work to meet those standards.
Okay. Is it an expensive thing to get to this
It is.
level?
No, if you look in the, let's see, what section is it here? Section 13.4. So the required administrative fee that's set by our fee schedule.
Right.
And currently, I believe it's $42 for
Okay.
a
No.
a check.
Yeah. All right.
Nice. I recommend approval.
Yep, me too.
Okay. We're
I
in.
feel like we can do that on consent.
No, this is an ordinance,
Oh, that's
so
right.
it will have to
Sorry.
go on
Yep.
regular agenda.
You could see that I was about to say that. I saw you straighten up a little bit.
He was ready. He was ready.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chief. Okay. That was kind of an exciting one.
I know.
That was exciting. We learned something too.
Yep.
Okay, our next item, Mike Ray is jumping up to set things up, is a proposed lot line adjustment at 1020 Palouse River Drive. You don't look like Amy Henrik.
Nothing gets by you, my friend.
I am pretty sharp today. It's Monday.
Astute. Good afternoon. So before you today, we have a simple lot line adjustment at the request of Shelley Bennett. It's 1020 East Palouse River Drive. It's a subject property. This is the Bennett property in the center here. And we have Thompson property that ends up wrapping around pretty much on three sides of that property. Indian Hills 6 subdivision is to the north, so Indian Hills Drive. Blaine Street's been dedicated. So current terminus here, been dedicated all the way down to Palouse River Drives, running east to west. Looking at the current zoning configuration, it's farm ranch. Portion of the Bennett property is R4. And then Indian Hills 6 subdivision, probably a combination R2, R3, R1, and RO to the north. So looking at farm ranch in the zoning code, minimum lot area 3 acres, minimum lot width 125 feet. And that brings us just a closer view. So 8.92 acres for the Bennett property. And the proposal would be to essentially shift the lines to the north and to the south and absorb. There's a fragment here when Indian Hills Drive was dedicated and constructed, as well as Blaine Street here to the west. So we'll retain this in Thompson property ownership, and then this would all be Bennett, so 9.75 acres in size. So it's just the record of survey that was submitted. Just follows that green line, the previous slide. So with that, staff recommends that the committee recommend approval of lot line adjustment request with no conditions. Certainly be able to answer any questions you have.
Mike, just to clarify that first image that you had on the screen, that 150 feet on the east, is that one more back? Keep going. So that, I guess, yeah, so the rectangle on the east side, is that being adjusted into the property at this time?
It's already been adjusted.
It's already been adjusted.
Yeah,
Okay,
that was part of the Bloom property purchase. They
Okay.
ended up selling 150 feet to the Bennett family.
Okay.
So, yeah. Still, this hasn't been updated, so you still see a black line here dividing the two. But yeah, it's been absorbed into the Bennett property.
Do you guys have any questions?
Don't I always feel like I should, but
I don't have any questions either. I think this is a relatively cut and dried thing. So
yeah, funny. I mean, it's a funny hash out there. So yeah, absolutely.
can we put this one on consent?
yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, our next item is the U of I dedications for the Home Depot project. Todd.
Yes,
Okay, man.
said that right. Dedications.
Yes, I did. I made a big deal about it.
Before you today are two dedications in your packet for the A Street right of way and stormwater, A Street stormwater parcel, both associated with the Home Depot project. As you're well aware, you've probably driven by there and seen that it's under construction right now. The project is located on the at the intersection of Farm Road and A Street. Currently, the parcel is owned by U of I. A Street is a 70-foot right of way that dead ends into the parcel, and then Farm Road is a 70-foot right of way adjacent to the parcel. Here's a picture of the civil plans. You can see the A Street extends along the northern part of the parcel, part of the project, and then the A Street detention basin, which collects public stormwater, is adjacent to that right of way dedication. So the city has requested the minor arterial. Those are both minor arterials, both Farm Road and A Street. The right of way for minor arterial is 90 feet. And so the city has requested the full 90-foot right of way for A Street. And then as Farm Road is currently 90 feet, we requested an additional 10 feet to comprise the half-width right of way of 45 feet. And so here's just a quick rundown of the dedications, approximately 730 linear feet of 90-foot right of way for A Street extension, approximately 300 feet of the 10-foot additional right of way along Farm Road, and then the additional right of way on the northwest, southwest, and northeast corners of A Street and Farm Road to accommodate future improvements. And I have a figure that'll show you what that means. And then just the stormwater parcel. And so here's this dedication. You can see around the parcel here, here, and here. The city worked with the developer's engineer to do a high-level roundabout design, figure out how much right-of-way we need, and then we requested that from U of I, which they granted. And so that's part of that dedication, along with 10 feet along Farm Road. And then the stormwater parcel is just adjacent to that. It's a half an acre. And so with that, there's, like I said, 2 dedications in your packet. Pretty straightforward right-of-way dedications, and we recommend that you recommend approval of both.
Okay, questions?
When you were talking about the the roundabout, is that something that will go in immediately? Because it seems like before we talked about, that's like down the line.
It's down the line.
Okay, but
yeah.
they're kind of gearing up someday for it. Is that what you mean?
It would just, when it's triggered, we've requested the right-of-way
Okay.
at this time, just to make it clean right-of-way dedication. And so,
I just got kind of excited for a second.
Yeah,
I figured that was
no, just anticipating that the process to go through acquisition right away
Yeah.
with a federal grant that's paying for a roadway project is kind of extensive. So in order to make that process smoother in the future,
Great.
the university had no objection to dedicating the right of way for that. And that'll just make it easier for us to pursue grant funding and not have to go through the right of way appraisals, the second opinion review, and all it takes to
Good.
acquire right of way using federal funding.
Just to clarify, in your drawings, if you go back there, sorry, it's the little curves that were dedicated, correct?
Yeah,
And
yep.
then that tiny little slice, which really is 10 feet.
yes. So along Farm Road,
Right.
the half width right-of-way is 45 feet, and right now there's 35 feet. So we asked for that extra 10
Can you just
feet.
point it out with your pointer again?
Yeah, you bet. So the Farm Road,
Or no.
Farm Road right-of-way is here. That's
Uh-huh.
that
Yeah,
10 feet.
yeah.
And then it's here, just this
Okay, I
this
gotcha.
additional sliver here,
Yeah,
and then here.
Okay.
That
Great.
would typically, feed in 290-foot right-of-way. That's additional just for a future roundabout.
Great, thanks.
yeah. I thought I knew, and then I just wanted to be sure, because yeah.
Sure, yeah.
All right, and the detention pond,
Yeah, it's just right next to it, right
Sure.
here, right up here. And
Ah,
so the
perfect.
stormwater for A Street feeds into the detention pond and then back out into Farm Road stormwater line.
excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, that was hugely helpful,
Yeah, it
Todd.
was.
Great.
Bryce, any questions?
I don't think so. No, I was going to ask about the roundabout as well. So I got covered. Like,
And you, go,
on that, can you go back to the one that you were just showing there? Todd?
Sure.
Yep. So if A Street does get extended there, or pardon me, let me rephrase. Will A Street, or is there a plan for A Street to get extended between that parking lot and the pond? Is that part of
This
the?
this is A Street all the way up to here. And so it dead ends there. And then
Okay.
if there's more development in the future, it will continue on.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
But
all right, shall we do approval?
Yeah.
And can we put that one on
Yes, we
consent? Okay, great. Todd, thank you. Okay, our next item is A Street reconstruction project, change order number 2. Bob, how are you, sir?
I am doing well.
Good. Yeah, this is interesting.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Today I'm going to talk to you about a proposed change order for the A Street reconstruction project. Just a little background on this project, just so everybody's kind of on the same page. Whoops, these are all going backwards. Okay, so city council did approve the award for this project back in April of 2024. The project is a full reconstruction of A Street from Washington to Adams Street. Included in that reconstruction is full utility. Was going to be full utility replacement underneath the asphalt before we put before we did the new asphalt. We made We had a couple alternates in the bid. One of them was alternate C, which was going to replace all of the storm infrastructure underneath A Street. Ultimately, we chose to reject that because we didn't have the funding for it at the time. And the original contract amount was $1,008,734. Let's see if I'm just going to go through all these because the order, I don't know what's going on with the order. In June of 24, we kind of wrapped up a lot of our funding for the ARPA stuff and kind of came to the conclusion that we still had around $150,000 that was dedicated for storm utility stuff.
So if I just might interrupt you there, just so as the council recalls, when we had the ARPA funds underneath the interim rule, the council allocated $1 million to the stormwater utility. 600,000 of that was to help fund the purchase of a jet truck for the storm so they could start doing the cleaning and inventorying of the storm infrastructure. 400,000 was allocated to stormwater improvements. That was primarily earmarked for the Hog Creek improvements as part of the Lily Street reconstruction. So after purchasing the jet truck, which we ended up able to purchase that for a little bit less than 600,000, and then we're spending a little bit under the 400 on the Lily Street projects, then leaves us with about 150,000 of funding the council had previously allocated by resolution to stormwater utility improvements. And so that was why we decided that maybe this would be a good opportunity to bring that in. You may recall the ARPA funds have to be obligated by the end of 24, expended by the end of 26. So that is the source of that 150,000.
Thanks. Excellent. Thank you.
So when we started looking at how to spend that 150,000, this alternate C on this project was kind of the obvious choice. It was right in that amount that we were looking to spend. If we could do the change order, we'd be able to spend that money this construction season, and so it just kind of became a no-brainer. We talked with La Riviere to ask them if they would be willing to honor the bid price that they gave us back in March. So they went to all their suppliers. Their suppliers came back. Some of them were willing to honor the prices that they had asked for back when they bid the project. The only exception was precast materials. Their precast supplier wanted a little bit extra money from what they had back in March. So ultimately, the change order will be a little bit more than that original alternate C bid price, but $146,361, which is about 14.5% increase, which exceeds the 10% that council approved. So after we approve, if we would approve this change order, the adjusted project amount would be $1,155,095.25. Staff's recommendation is to approve the change order and then authorize staff to work change orders within that 10% of the new adjusted amount. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, this is actually, I think you said this is interesting. I think that this is interesting. I am curious, like if we didn't grant to go with this option C here, would there be other projects that we could use this 150,000 on that are pressing at the moment? Like, to your knowledge? Like, I mean,
I'm not 100% sure. It was a kind of a combination of Tyler Palmer and Steve Schulte that really kind of was trying to figure out what to do with this money. I said, hey, alternate C was right at that 150,000. They took that, they pondered it, and they came back to me and said, yeah, we want to do the change order. So I don't have the information on what other, I know that there were other options that they were looking at, but.
Yeah, at this point, they're still in that stage of cleaning and evaluating the system. There were a couple projects, but the thought was they would exceed this amount, and we did not have enough capital accumulation in the stormwater utility to make up the difference. And so the ability to get a project scoped get it contracted by the end of the year, and get the funding expended, and to have the funding for these ones that were going to end up being a little bit higher than the 150 we had. This just seemed to be the best opportunity while we have the road up, while we're reconstructing the entire base and the surface. We do oftentimes like to get the underground infrastructure repaired and restored so that we're not digging through that new asphalt 5 years or 3 years after we repave the street. So it seemed to be the best option at this point in time.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, that was the only question.
Okay.
Yep, I'm good.
I think this is really, it's kind of exciting, but I like the remove and replace old stuff marching orders. And so to me, this is a good expenditure of our last few dollars of our ARPA money. And then to have it be within, $5,000 of what we thought, that's great. So I say we approve it. Okay, good. And can that go on consent?
Again, yes.
Okay,
Great.
excellent. All right, Bob, thank you very much.
Can I ask you just a quick follow-up question? Not that that changes this at all.
Right when you
I
say
know, sorry. I just wanted to see that up-down motion. How long will this extend the A Street project?
The contractor did not request any additional time.
Cool.
That was one of the things that, one of the issues I talked with them about prior to starting this whole process was if we do this, can you still make the deadline of essentially getting us paid back before winter comes? And they were confident that they didn't need to extend their
that's
schedule.
I know.
We'll
I know.
see
Yeah.
how construction goes. We'll see how
Sure.
but they felt that they didn't need any extra time with this.
Oh, nice. That's good news. Thanks.
Good.
Now I really am done.
All right, stand up and we'll see if she's done. All right, thank you very much, Bob. Mr. Belknap, do you have anything for
Nothing
us?
else.
All right, great. Well, then I say at 4:26, we adjourn.
I don't know. I think we could do more things.
I think we're not going to.
All right.